whatever you want. 9355.
Alright, it's going right now.
Cool. I will send that over.
First part, the silence. Yep, and then I'll give it thumbs up when you're ready.
Okay, so copies and
Yes.
where should I go when they're back here?
Yep.
And you'll be pre-posted with the guidelines. Test.
Test.
May I have your attention, please? Our ceremony will begin in a few moments. Please take this time to find your seats and silence all electronic devices. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Brandon Eves, your narrator for today's ceremony. On behalf of the presiding officer, Colonel Laura King, I would like to welcome you to our change of command ceremony. Today, the men and women of the 333rd Squadron bid farewell to our departing commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks, and welcome our new commander, Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots. As a reminder, it is customary for military members to stand at attention during the singing of the national anthem, while our civilian guests stand with their right hand over their heart. Please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem by Technical Sergeant John Ralston, followed by the invocation given by Chaplain William Cooper.
Squadron and hoot! And the homes of the
Okay, there's no sing. So he's doing that one thing. Okay. Just says sing, national anthem singer steps to the side. Or main, but so when is he singing?
Seems like a good spot usually.
Okay. Just not. Just step back. Step back and let him step forward.
and the home of the brave.
Give us a chance to do present arms.
Oh, yeah, of course, that's outdoor. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
We're doing indoors? Okay.
Okay, so we're done.
Change 99.
Okay. Anthem complete. Yeah, so he stepped to the side and then, so they're not doing parade rest. Okay, all right, and then chaplain. Got it.
Hooray!
Invocation. Okay. All right. Please be seated. Thank you, Sergeant Ralston and Chaplain Cooper. Today, in a centuries-old tradition, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks will relinquish command of the 333rd Training Squadron to Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots. Colonel Laura will fit. Am I saying that correctly? Coots?
Yeah, Coots like boots.
Coots like boots. Got it, sir. Colonel Laura King will officiate today's ceremony. The commander of troops for today's ceremony is Major Adam Ray. Before we begin our ceremony, we would like to introduce our distinguished guests, starting with our official party. Today's presiding officer, the commander, 81st Training Group, Colonel Laura King. The outgoing commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks, accompanied by his spouse, Dawn, their daughter, Sweden, and their son, Ryan. His family, friends. So, with regards to the applause, should I keep going if people?
Yeah, the applause, you can wait. a few minutes and then.
let them do it
Do it,
and
and
then
then-
continue,
Yes.
so it's not awkward. Got it. Okay. His family friends, Master Sergeant retired Herman Johnston, accompanied by his spouse. Okay.
You trying to figure out how to say her last name? Her name is Lethalia.
Lethalia.
You can
Lee.
Lee. Lethalia.
Thale. Lethalia.
Yeah, Lethalia. Good Southern name.
That is, that's right. I might put a little draw on it.
That's all right. Go for it. Lethalia.
Accompanied by his spouse, Lethalia. The incoming commander, Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots, accompanied by his spouse, Major Katie Coots, their daughter Penelope, and their sons Parker and Benjamin. And the guidon bearer, the acting First Sergeant, 333rd Training Squadron, Master Sergeant Tanner Thompson. Also joining us today, the Vice Commander, 81st Training Wing, Colonel Jason Allen, accompanied by his spouse, Myra. The Command Chief Master Sergeant Sarah Esparza, and the Director of Staff, Brian Thompson. The Commander, 81st Medical Group, Colonel Christopher Estridge, and the Senior Enlisted Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Paula Isham. The Commander, 81st Mission Support Group, Colonel Ryan Crowley, accompanied by his spouse, Lisa, and the Senior Enlisted Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Lance Howard. Representing the Senior Enlisted Leader, 81st Training Group, Chief Master Sergeant Nicholas Scott. And the Senior Enlisted Leader, 333rd Training Squadron, Chief Master Sergeant Cody Bailey.
Let's go.
Finally, we would like to welcome all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, family, friends, and members of Team Keesler who have joined us today. We appreciate your presence and camaraderie on this special occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel King.
Yay. My comments should be here.
Yeah.
Comments. Thank you.
Lost. Thank you, Colonel King. Yeah, that's really sure. Turn. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the Meritorious Service Medal is presented to Colonel Sparks.
Squadron! And who? Mindy, can you get it? Safety. Yeah. I'm paying for red.
Sorry, what page did you say? You already called it.
Yes, so they'll call to attention, they'll turn around, and then upon that, publish the order.
Publish the order.
Attention orders. This is to certify that the President of the United States of America, authorized by Executive Order 16 January 1969, has awarded the Meritorious Service Medal, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster, to Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks for meritorious service 5 June 2020 to 1 July 2022. Colonel Sparks distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service. Okay, copy. I just want to make sure. Is there anything?
Big words.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of.
I think we used it in small version.
Okay, let's jump out. I'll read it on my end as we get through. Okay, the singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Sparks reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. And then my trigger is when you face forward.
Your what?
My trigger to continue is you facing forward.
Okay. So after, I just want to make sure, so after everyone claps for the award, I salute Colonel King. I face forward.
When she returns the citation to the proffer and
Okay.
steps off,
Already got it.
face forward.
Okay. Clap. After, and then you just said, all right, sounds good. I like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So when he steps back, once they're done,
Just-
I'll just cue from them and I'll say, please be seated. And now the commander of 333 Training Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks.
Words, words, words. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Major Ray, please put the troops at ease.
Hey!
More words, words, words. Thank you, Matt Ducks.
Okay. At this time, the 333rd Training Squadron will present Colonel Sparks with a final salute. So I think when you're done, you can just go center stage and I'll take your spot.
Squadron! Head up! Order!
Oh, that's right. Present arms. That's why we do.
Order!
And parade rest.
Hooray!
Thank you, Colonel Sparks. The change of command has been an important ceremony.
Can we try that one more time?
Yes. Okay. Words.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Your present Colonel Sparks' final salute.
Squadron! Head up! Present! Who! Order! Who! Hooray!
Thank you, Colonel Sparks. Change of commands, words, achievements of the men and women of the 333rd Training Squadron. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the command of the 333rd Training Squadron is formally passed from Colonel Sparks to Colonel Coots.
Squadron! Head up!
I'm gonna go to this little hole right here. And so we're gonna wait here until the guy comes. So all we're gonna do is listen for when he drops, you're gonna have to drop a card just so we can hear on the carpet again. So then once he does that, then we will face forward.
When the noise.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
All through the noise, that's our cue to turn towards the audience.
All right, let's drop it.
Publish the orders.
Attention orders. Signed, Laura A. King, Colonel, Commander, 81st Training Group.
Damn, I
photos, but that's up to you. Your hands are.
I assume command.
All right.
And then. Or Colonel King. So your center on the first two. Yes, so that'll make it.
I'll be on this job.
And then that's when once again, I'll move the flags so that you can go center.
Squadron, attention, hut, at ease.
My hands go up. You want? So let's do it one more time.
Distraction.
You know, this way. Yep, we face that way. They'll read the order, the officers stay back. Yep. Do it.
Here's your stuff.
Just take one step. Why don't you take one step, like half a step back? So that there's a little bit of space. That's it. That's it. And then when they get back to their seats, you tell them to go stand and behind the middle seat.
So, because we have to stop, so our flight will be ready to receive first.
So,
Yeah, we'll go right into that.
Got it.
If you want to call her. Yeah.
All good.
Yep, we'll be on it. We need to probably do his. Okay. Information.
They did. Just because, yeah, where they, I think so.
Yeah. We haven't finished. I mean, I am, I was just talking my stuff, but I don't know. So like when he's center stage, he's gonna stay there, and I have stuff to say. Yeah, and y'all didn't do the first salute stuff either. And dry run's a dry run. What I'm told. Yeah, no, I'm clear, but I just want to make sure everyone's. So once they exit the stage, you'll be centered here.
Yeah, I'll come over.
And then I have some stuff to say, and then you come over. Is that? Yeah, so I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure. Yada, yada, yada. I'll step back.
Sweet.
And then words. And then at this time, Victor, the training squadron will present Colonel Coots with a first salute.
Squadron is up. Raise that. All up.
And then parade rest. That's it. Y'all good? So yeah.
Parade.
This concludes. We invite you. Goodbye.
Oh, this is. I
And then you need to dismiss. Yeah.
Right, because we're gonna go to the Air Force song, which we'll want everyone to attention.
Yeah, so I'm going to start singing the Air Force song. I know, right? Should I go low or high? We got falsetto. Off we go.
Yep, got it. No, I'll leave it.
I'll just go. Off we go. I'll just stay.
Oh, yeah.
Are you gonna? You know how to dismiss your formation? Or when?
Yep, attention. The question is when.
The when is after. No, the official party. At the end of the first verse, they will go, and then escorts family members to the exit. Formation CC dismisses formation. So like kind of like as they're approaching there. You want to give them a sign? Y'all are gonna be standing back there, right? Because you're gonna be facing. You're gonna be facing. Okay, right. I'll give you the patent on it. Yeah. Well, what's up?
My presents backwards. I'm controlling the flow. That's right. I did some fast narrators before with somebody. Yeah. Okay, I look at the humidity that's out there and just be thankful that we're doing this.
Yep, they are right here. And I'll just
we're gonna do the taller cat thing real quick. And I'll put y'all in attendance.
Okay. Gotcha, me too. And so he that makes sense.
A little bit too, like military members, right? The network. I love it that people just be like, okay, we don't get to have a uniform, it's something different about it, you know, just the abilities to be able to engage in conversation. So you see, they moved it from Scott to Robert. It's probably better for us.
Have your attention, please. Our ceremony will begin in a few moments. Please take the time to find your seats and silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
Squadron, ready?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Brandon Eaves, your narrator for today's ceremony. On behalf of the presiding officer, Colonel Laura King, I would like to welcome you to our change of command ceremony. Today, the men and women of the 333rd Training Squadron bid farewell to our departing commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks, and welcome our new commander, Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots. As a reminder, it is customary for military members to stand at attention during the singing of the national anthem, while our civilian guests stand with their right hand over their heart. Please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem by Technical Sergeant John Ralston, followed by the invocation given by Chaplain William Cooper.
Squadron, head, hoot!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hooray!
Let us pray. Gracious God, we come to you this day to give you thanks and to pay tribute to that which has gone before and anticipate what
is to come. For Lieutenant Colonel Sparks, departing commander, we ask your blessing and care upon him and his family as he assumes a new position and the family adjusts to a new home. Guide him as he's guided others under his charge here at Key. For our new commander, Lieutenant Colonel Cooks, we ask that you bless him as well as his family as they continue in leadership and service. As he assumes command, give him great wisdom, courage, strength for the grind, and patience in an ever-changing world. Bless now this occasion, I pray. In your name, amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Sergeant Ralston and Chaplain Cooper. Today, in a centuries-old tradition, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks will relinquish command of the 333rd Training Squadron to Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots. Colonel Laura King will officiate today's ceremony. The commander of troops for today's ceremony is Major Adam Ray. Before we begin our ceremony, we would like to introduce our distinguished guests, starting with our official party. Today's presiding officer, the commander, 81st Training Group, Colonel Laura King. The outgoing commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks, accompanied by his spouse, Dawn, their daughter, Sweden, and their son, Ryan. His family friends, Master Sergeant retired Herman Johnston, accompanied by his spouse, Lethalia. The incoming commander, Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots, accompanied by his spouse, Major Katie Coots, their daughter, Penelope, and their sons, Parker and Benjamin. And the guidon bearer, the acting First Sergeant, 333rd Training Squadron, Master Sergeant Tanner Thompson. Also joining us today, the Vice Commander, 81st Training Wing, Colonel Jason Allen, accompanied by his spouse, Myra. The Command Chief Master Sergeant, Chief Master Sergeant Sarah Esparza, and the Director of Staff, Brian Thompson. The Commander, 81st Medical Group, Colonel Christopher Esridge, and the Senior Enlisted Leader, Senior Master Sergeant Myton Pham. The Commander, 81st Mission Support Group, Colonel Ryan Crowley, accompanied by his spouse, Lisa, and the Senior Enlisted Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Lance Power. Representing the Senior Enlisted Leader, 81st Training Group, Chief Master Sergeant Nicholas Scott. And the Senior Enlisted Leader, 333rd Training Squadron, Chief Master Sergeant Cody Bailey. Finally, we would like to welcome all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, family, friends, and members of Team Kiesler who have joined us today. We appreciate your presence and camaraderie on this special occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel King.
Good afternoon. Major Ray, please put your troops at ease, please.
Squadron, head up, at ease.
So good afternoon, Colonel Allen, fellow group commanders, squadron commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, there you go, community partners, and especially the men and women of the 333rd Training Squadron. Welcome to this afternoon's event. The Air Force conducts many changes of commands each year, and for many of us, we've seen quite a few. And unless it's your change of command, they're generally not terribly exciting. However, I will find them, every one of them, exciting, because what I find is that this ceremony highlights the trust, faith, and confidence that the Air Force has placed in these officers to lead, mentor, and prepare our airmen and guardians to answer our nation's call in whatever capacity is needed. I can imagine the excitement, nervousness, and satisfaction of these two officers joining me here today as we conduct the transition from one great Air Force officer to another great Air Force officer. Lieutenant Colonel Sparks probably feels satisfaction as he concludes this amazing command tour, and Colonel Coots' excitement and nervousness of taking the helm of a squadron full of professionals ready to help him lead them to new heights. I'd like to start by welcoming some very important folks in their lives. First, I'd like to welcome Dawn, Sweden, and Ryan today for joining your dad here today, so thank you. I'd also like to make sure that we welcome the Coots family. So Katie, Parker, and Ben, and Penny. I'm not going to go the formal names, Penelope and Benjamin. So thank you all, and to all the friends and family of the Coots and Sparks family, thank you for joining us today. What a monumental occasion to do a change of command, and especially when we're able to have this opportunity where I can actually see faces. We're not all behind the masks anymore. I know there's still a capability where we need to have them at times, but it's really nice to see your smiling faces. So thank you for everyone for being here today. Normally, the outgoing commander would have worked with me for 1 or 2 years before we reached this point instead of 1 or 2 weeks. So it makes it a little difficult sometimes to share some personal examples of watching them lead their squadron. However, the Air Force makes it a little bit easy by requiring evaluations each year so that it can capture your performance. And so I had to spend the last couple of days just pouring through just mounds and mounds of accomplishments that this squadron has done over the last 2 years under the leadership of Colonel Sparks. And I said, ooh, thank goodness, because I wasn't really sure if I had spent a little more time with would have tons of stories, because just in the short interactions that we've had over the last several days, even earlier we were in practice, he, regaled me with another story about the ducks, the history of the ducks. That if we had been together for more than a week or two, Jeremy, I'm sure we would have had some wonderful stories, but I have a few trickled in here in just a second I'll share, because you did tell on yourself just a smidge. So Colonel Sparks has had a long history with the 333rd, starting with instructor duty back in 2010. He continues to grow professionally with his time at the Lincoln Lab at MIT, as well as his grueling School of Advanced Air and Space Studies, which, not very many big brain folks go to SAS. And so for someone to be at that level, to be able to go to SAS is an incredible accomplishment in an Air Force career. And his history as an instructor and professional student leader allowed him to parlay his passion for teaching, learning, and taking care of airmen to lead the squadron to the next level of trained and educated airmen and guardians with a joint warrior mindset. The speed and pace of threats to the United States have changed, and then therefore how we train, educate, and prepare our future airmen and guardians capable of accomplishing tasks as part of a team must change. Preparing these warriors to operate in dynamic environments starts with their initial skills training, as well as those advanced skills training here at Keesler. Lieutenant Colonel Sparks and his squadron are laying the foundation for the airmen warriors to succeed in contested environments. As you will hear in a few minutes via the citation of his decoration, you'll see how the improvements to training, development, and delivery during his tenure continue to improve the preparedness of our human capital weapon system, our airmen and guardians. One thing none of us planned during a command tour, how to lead during a pandemic. But at Keesler, it also came with an added consideration of not stopping the training pipeline. Pipeline, a hard word to say today, through the global pandemic. Lieutenant Colonel Sparks led his team to pivot the training pipeline into a hybrid training delivery opportunity and ensuring the Air Force could continue its mission by delivering airmen that are trained and ready to the force. Despite this added hurdle of COVID restrictions, Colonel Sparks and his team accomplished a great variety of things during his tour, to include a call of the Cyber Officer Initial Skills Training by rallying $285,000 from SMEs, along with the cutting of the normal rewrite time from a long 2-year process to just 6 months. He also led a training culture evolution from old school testing methods to performance-based scenarios for the students to lead training knowledge to the required skills needed to succeed in the field. And operationalizing these skills also allowed the squadron to tie these behaviors to align with the chief's directive to create joint-minded airmen. As you will see, Lieutenant Colonel Sparks worked hard over his tenure, but what you may not know, he played hard too. Jeremy has a passion for cars, which he told me about. Formula One, I think, was at the top of his list, which could explain a few things he told me during one of our sit-downs about his Operation Quack, where they used their squadron car, which apparently has this large duck on it, and he used it as a morale event, where he was able to improve the morale, not just for his own squadron, but across the base, and as well as some senior leaders. And so I thought that was an amazing opportunity to remember, we're all human at the end of the day, and we're not here just a machine to push out airmen and guardians on the other end of it. Inside that ecosystem, we're all individuals, and he recognized that to make sure that we were still taking care of each other. However, he also has another common thread with cars. He, luckily, was the one who managed to damage the Vice Wing Commander's pristine car by backing into it just recently. So Colonel Kafer managed to make it all that time without getting any dings or dent in his car, but Jeremy managed to make sure he left Kisler with a nice little ding in his car. So.
Colonel Allen, watch out.
In addition to bidding the Sparks a fond farewell as they PCS to Rome, Italy, yes, you heard me right, Rome, Italy, and we are not going to cry for that one, to a fellowship, we're also pleased to welcome the Coots family to the Dragon family. Many times you hear the saying, incoming commanders are called the right person for the job. Of course, that is very true for Nick. He's also true because he brings a diversity of background to the 333rd that will continue to propel him to great heights under his leadership. Nick is a recent graduate of the Air War College at Maxwell, a seasoned commander where he commanded the 52nd Combat Communications Squadron at Robbins, and brings a strong background of jointness where he served as a strategic planner on the Joint Staff at the Pentagon. Nick was also a fellow with the Blue Horizons at the Center of Strategy and Technology. This diverse background of experiences will help him continue the journey Jeremy started with institutionalizing behaviors that allow our airmen and guardians to accelerate change in how we deliver capabilities to the Joint Force Commander. Nick's only been here a few days, but I had a chance to sit down with him for a quick introduction. One of the things he mentioned to me is he enjoys spending a lot of time with his family. He's got 3 littles over there, so I'm sure that they take a lot of his time. But one thing that he did mention to me, which I found really interesting, was that he enjoys mixology. I forgot to ask you, is that for drinks or is that for like records?
Yes, the first one.
I'm just trying to see where we can ingratiate you to the crowd out here. So again, we thank Colonel Sparks for his leadership and wish him and his family safe travels to Italy. Please have a bottle of wine on us. And welcome to the Coots family as new members of the Dragon family, and we look forward to serving with you. Thank you.
Squadron, head, hoot!
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the Meritorious Service Medal is presented to Colonel Sparks. Attention to orders. This is to certify that the President of the United States of America, authorized by Executive Order 16 January 1969, has awarded the Meritorious Service Medal, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster, to Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks for meritorious service 5 June 2020 to 1 July 2022. Colonel Sparks distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 333rd Training Squadron, 81st Training Group, 81st Training Wing, Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. During this period, Colonel Sparks distinguished himself in performance of outstanding service and led the Air Force's premier cyber schoolhouse by synchronizing 137 joint military, civilian, and contract personnel and delivering 19 enlisted and officer courses across 10 Air Force specialties, graduating 6,500 students per year. His transformational leadership was instrumental in addressing shortfalls in cyber training by securing 49 new instructors, creating operationally relevant course material, and securing a $152 million budget, resulting in the reorganization of Air Education and Training Command's second largest pipeline. Additionally, Colonel Sparks executed a $6 million National Defense Authorization Act budget, modernizing the cyber range with joint all-domain command and control capabilities. Furthermore, he partnered with the Air Force Research Laboratory to integrate real-world near-peer threats and incorporate rigorous planning to produce world-class student missions. Finally, Colonel Sparks' leadership culminated in the squadron garnering multiple wing-level awards, 3 Air Education and Training Command Information Dominance Awards, and the Command's General Larry O. Spencer Award. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Sparks reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Please be seated. And now, the commander of 333rd Training Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks.
I can only say that for a few more minutes. I love hearing the sound of the kids too. It's almost like Captain Wilkinson never left. Major A, will you please put the troops at ease?
Squadron and at ease.
All right. Colonel King, thank you, ma'am, for officiating today. Also, Colonel Allen, Chief Esparza, Group Chiefs, commanders, thank you so much for making it out today. Mad Ducks, the furious of the foul, the angriest of the avians. I stand before you very grateful, very humble. And I will leave you in the only way I know how. Story time with Grandpa Sparks. So, in the early 80s, there was a Pizza Hut down in somewhere South Illinois. And one evening, a woman in her late 70s walked in, and she walked up to the counter and she asked for a meatball sub. And he said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry. We don't make meatball subs." And she was quite upset about this. And the gentleman behind the counter started thinking. He said, "You know what? We do sell other subs. And we also have meatballs for spaghetti. We have marinara sauce for pizza. We got mozzarella for pizza. I bet we can make you that sub and sell it as something else." And so he did. He gave it to her. She paid and off she went. And he expected to never hear from her again, except the next day, that evening, the phone at that Pizza Hut rang, and it was her. And he picked up the phone, and she says, "I just want to tell you thank you." She said, "You probably thought you'd never hear from me again, except I want to share something with you." So my husband, who's been in hospice for the last 4 months, he lost his taste of smell mostly. Couldn't taste much. But as I cared for him for the last 4 months, I've been trying to help him in any way that I can, but there's not a lot I can do for him. During his cancer treatments, it left him mostly in a way that she couldn't care for him. And she said, all this time I've been wanting to care for him, and every night I ask him, "What can I do for you?" And last night, he said, "You know what? I haven't had much of an appetite, but I could really go for a meatball sub." And so she said, I had gone to 5 other places, and none of them had it. I came in there, and you found a way to make one. She said, and as it turns out, that was his final meal. said, and thank you for giving me that opportunity. The reason I share that story was because of the many, many times I came into the office and I asked for something that wasn't on the menu over and over and over again. I came into the DO's office, Major Hunter, Major Ray, the Chief's office, to the sheriff's office, and I asked for things not on the menu. Things like, hey, we just had a hurricane hit Keesler, and we need to rebuild our buildings. Thankfully, we had tremendous support. But it was not on the menu. We don't have a hurricane recovery officer. But you found a way to make it happen. You stood up a FATE program, the First Assignment Instructor Program. TRR found us ways to stand up these new courses that they were bragging about. That represents the team. I ride the wave and take credit for the ocean. That's how this works. I'm just kidding. Flight commanders and flight chiefs. We put together new incentives for incentivizing those things that we care about. We're a training squad, so we have to be the best in the world of training. So we were looking for ways to incentivize those behaviors. So our tradition of signing the wall, and then our Furious Foul Award. Instructors, I came to you and I asked for ways to turn our curriculum upside down, to prepare for near peer. And so you did. You put together training missions. You found ways. I said, no more multiple choice tests, period, dot, none. And that was, thankfully, you guys rose to the challenge. You made that be boss up for me. Thank you. Our Air Force is better because of it. And that's now all performance-based, and I thank you. The CSS, thank you. I asked you all the time for things, not on the menu. Same to the students. I'm not the only one that noticed either. The official award for generating results from efforts that are not on the menu is called the General Larry O. Spencer Innovation Award. And you took that award at the 2nd Air Force level last year and the AETC level this year. Thank you for thinking outside the box, constantly innovating in ways that keep our nation more secure. On the topic of giving thanks in particular, I owe the biggest thanks to my wife, Dawn, for her love and forgiveness. Remarkably, she continues to support and love me. For that, I will always be grateful. Nick, this team is ready for your leadership, and I can't think of anyone more qualified at this time to lead. Colonel King said it best. I'll leave you with a quote. Margaret Thatcher, former Prime Minister of the UK, said on the connection between action and satisfaction. Look at a day when you are supremely satisfied at the end. It's not a day when you lounge around and do nothing. It's a day when you've had everything to do and you've done it. I depart as your commander, supremely satisfied with the work we've all done, especially you. Godspeed, lead on.
Squadron and hook!
This time, the 333rd Training Squadron will present Colonel Sparks with the final salute.
Reach and hook! Hold up! Hook!
Thank you, Colonel Sparks. The change of command has been an important ceremony from the earliest days of our military, signifying the formal change of leadership in an organization. The passing of the flag from the outgoing commander to the incoming commander is accomplished in front of the entire unit, so all can witness their leader assuming command. The person who controls the flag also controls the soldiers and their allegiance. On July 3rd, 1775, an elaborate ceremony was staged with 21 drummers and 21 fifers as General Artemus Ward surrendered command of the Massachusetts militia to General George Washington. 8 years later, General Washington said farewell to his officers. With a full heart of love and gratitude, I now take leave of you. I wish that your latter days may be as prosperous and happy as your former ones have been glorious and honorable. Today's ceremony, drawing on the traditions of George Washington, pays tribute to the glorious and honorable achievements of the men and women of the 333rd Training Squadron. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the command of the 333rd Training Squadron is formally passed from Colonel Sparks to Colonel Coots.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, 81st Training Wing, Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. Special order number FM 22054, dated 16 June 2022. Under the provisions of Air Force Instruction 51-509 and effective 15 June 2022, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Sparks relinquishes command of the 333rd Training Squadron, Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. And effective 27 June 2022, Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots assumes command of the 333rd Training Squadron, Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. Signed, Laura A. King, Colonel, Commander, 81st Training Group. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pride to introduce the new commander of the 333rd Training Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Coots.
Go ahead, formation at ease.
Fire and hunt! Eddie!
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished visitors, men and women of the 333rd, fellow teammates here at Keesler family, to include the first sergeants, and everybody out on YouTube land. So thank you very much for participating in today's event. I've done nothing to warrant a lengthy speech, so I'm just going to hand out a bunch of thank yous, and if you bear with me for 3 minutes and 33 seconds, I will get this over with. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody who planned this event today. So Captain Adabaki, Tech Sergeant Massard, and then everybody at Protocol, and then the BBEC for hosting today's event. So thank you. Number two, thank you to the powers that be that not only made this a joint spouse assignment, but a joint command assignment. So you have Colonels Crowley and Gray and Blackwell and Hunter, Lieutenant Generals Crowell and Kelly, and then my former boss, Mr. Jeff Jones. So thank you for keeping the family together. Number three, thanks to those who came out to, who traveled to visit. So we have Commander Pancake Thompson and his family, Kelly, his wife, and then his daughters, Audrey and Nat. And then Chief Master Sergeant retired, and Senior Master Sergeant retired, Tony and Becca Sargent, who are 81st alum, who are in attendance today. Thanks to my family for all the love and support that you provided over the years, the love and support that you're going to provide and that I'm going to reciprocate in kind. I also want to apologize in advance and say I'm sorry. There are going to be times when Daddy's not where you want him to be when you want him to be, but I'm going to strive every day to make those few and far between. To my fellow family members here at Keesler, I'm humbled standing up in front of you today for two reasons. The first reason is because of the welcoming that we received once we got to this base. The CE Squadron Commander, Security Forces. I had breakfast with the 85th EIS and the 335th Squadron Commanders. Colonel Crowley, you guys stopped by. The 2nd Air Force Commander's husband stopped by to talk. When I was at AETC Squadron Commanders course with my wife, they sat us in a row with the other AETC Squadron Commanders coming from Keesler. This was amazing. I didn't get that during my first Squadron Command. We had 60 Squadron Commanders at my first base. I knew 2 of them. Everybody else wanted to just stick with themselves. This was awesome. and we are going to thoroughly enjoy being part of this Keesler family. Speaking of squadron commanders, Jeremy, thank you. Thank you for the turnover. During my first squadron command, that commander wanted nothing to do with the turnover. That's not what Jeremy was all about. It really speaks to his character. He wanted to hand off the squadron as best as he could, and he made time, a lot of time, to sit down and talk with me either virtually or in person to make sure that I got off on the right foot. So thank you and good luck to you and your family in Rome, Italy. You're going to love it. Finally, to the men and women of the 333rd. The second reason why I'm humbled standing in front of you today is because I'm eating a big piece of humble pie right now. Reason why is because my experience in the 333rd 18 years ago as a student was lackluster at best. It was because of those multiple choice question tests and with a lot of instructors who didn't want to be there. 6 years ago, I started getting on this horn about the Air Force really needs to sink more money into education and training. That is the beginning of the Air Force. Doesn't matter what your AFSC is. And I'm going to make some changes. And then I started talking to Jeremy, and I'm going, holy cow. The things that were started 6 years ago with Nate Houston, carried on by Andy Miller, and then with Jeremy, are amazing. So I stand in front of you humbled, but excited, because I'm really looking forward to taking the squadron and continuing that legacy and that tradition of excellence that started 6 years ago. For the Cyber Warriors in the formation and all the students, this is some of the best education and training that you're going to get that I've seen in my 18 years in the military. So I look forward to serving with you. And on that note, all existing policies and guidance remain in effect until further notice. Thank you.
At this time, the 333rd Training Squadron will present Colonel Coots with a first salute.
Squadron, head up, present, hoot! Looking good, Mad Ducks? Order, hoot!
This concludes today's ceremony. Please stand and join us in singing the Air Force song and remain standing for the departure of the official party. We invite you to join us to welcome Colonel Coots and his family. Thank you for joining us. Off we go.
Into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, soon to meet our thunder. I don't know, give her the gun, give her the gun, hey! Down we dive, sighting our flames from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we'll go down in flames. Hey! Nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
Boom!
That was a little loud.
That's us.